Hi, this is KMcCloskey. This is my instructional design project for ETEC 591. We were to create a distributed learning experience. Distributed learning is a general term used to describe a multimedia method of instructional delivery that includes a mix of web-based instruction, streaming video, conferencing, face-to-face class time, distance learning through television or video, or other combinations of electronic and traditional educational models. Within distributed learning, we have asynchronous learning. It's a student-centered teaching model that uses online learning resources to facilitate information sharing outside the constraints of time and place among a network of people. And synchronous, a learning environment where everyone takes part at the same time. The unit of instruction that I've designed is blended learning with a flipped classroom, and this theory to support social constructivism, along with the technology to support the content and pedagogy, Weebly, Google Apps, and YouTube. And the unit of instruction is Paths to Expression. It's a 3-week timeline. High School Visual Arts, grades 9 through 12. Intro to Art, it's a year-long class. So, blended learning is a formal education program in which a student learns, at least in part, through delivery of content and instruction via digital and online media with some element of student control over time, place, path, or pace. The affordances of blended learning: collaboration, time efficiency, accessibility, motivation, reinforcement of learning, and the availability of more resources. A flipped classroom is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction moves from the group learning space to the individual learning space, and the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic, interactive learning environment where the educator guides students as they apply concepts and engage creatively. Within the flipped classroom, the creating, evaluating, and analyzing occurs in the classroom. Outside of the classroom is remembering and understanding and applying. So the learning opportunities with the flipped classroom: active learning, peer instructive, collaborative learning, group work, problem-based learning, discussions, or debates. Social constructivism supports blended learning and a flipped classroom because it's student-centered. Students construct their own knowledge. Interactive learning, situated learning, the teacher's a guide on the side. Real-world practical learning, pre-existing knowledge, sharing ideas, group learning, and it's authentic learning. The technology used to support this unit of instruction will be Weebly, Google Apps, Blogger, CS6, plus any other apps that I have in the classroom for any kind of digital editing or movie making, along with any devices I have available inside the classroom and what the students have outside the classroom, which in my classroom I have available laptops, desktops, tablets, and of course the students have their phones. The unit that I've designed is Unit 1, Paths to Expression. This unit will focus on creating works of art that are expressive and realistic that emphasize the element of art line. The learners, high school grades 9 through 12, Intro to Art, year-long course in blended learning with flipped learning. And the TEKs that we cover, there's quite a few. The students will be able to gain ideas from their imagination and direct observation. They're going to understand the elements of art and principles of design. They're going to create original artworks that communicate feelings, ideas, or impressions. They're going to describe general characteristics in an artwork, such as elements and principles. They're going to evaluate their artwork and their peers, and they're going to construct an electronic portfolio. The learning objectives: they're going to be able to identify the elements of art and principles of design in an artwork. They're going to be able to create abstract art, abstract expressionism. They're going to be able to create works of art using the 5 basic lines. They're going to be able to create abstract work using lines. They'll be able to create a contour drawing, and they're going to be able to create a digital story using photographs. So I'll go ahead and take you on a tour of the Weebly site. I chose Weebly because on our campus they are really having a push for us to use this technology, and I wasn't very familiar with it, so I thought it would be great for me to practice with it and see what the advantages are of using it to design a course. So when we get started, you see the CHS art. there's a self-portrait I did. It's a caricature last year. Go ahead and click on Intro to Art, and it takes us to the course description about what the expectations of the course, since it's a year-long course, the format, blended learning, flipped classroom of lessons, discussion, and art making. When we get into the classroom, we're not all working with the same materials when doing the art making. It's really a blended learning environment. Some kids work better digitally, some kids can draw, some kids like to sculpt, so I really try to allow them to decide what they want to work with. I have available on here the course syllabus. It's all available on the Google Drive, which the kids will be required to create a Gmail account, and it goes through the expectations, the basic art rubric, classroom rules, procedures, and so on and so forth. Then from there we go to the course outline. So for Unit 1, it's 3 weeks. Everything's based on a 90-minute block schedule. I give them the learning objectives for the unit. Day 1, 90-minute block, outside class, quiz 1, identifying elements and principles. Day 2, outside of class, quiz 2, and assignment number 1. For the blog post, they have a studio project in class, and so I break it down for each day for them. If there's a combined, I know that one of these projects, like the direct observation contour drawings, usually takes 2 class periods for them to do, since it's a series of 3. The digital project will be day 6 and 7, and then the final for the unit is a self-critique and a peer critique. From here we go to the unit of instruction. So this is where I give an overview of the unit, what it will be focusing on, that we are learning about the elements of art. We are also learning about the element of art line and abstract art and how to create it, and how to create a composition. We're also working with the principles of design. When you scroll down to the bottom, I have 4 lessons, and in each lesson we're focusing on a different concept. For lesson 1, it's the elements of art and principles of design. I've created a PowerPoint that the students will be able to view that discuss each one of them to give them an idea of what it looks like. There's an assignment on the Google Forms that they'll go through and complete when they're done with the PowerPoint, along with a quiz on Google Forms. Lesson 2 is about the 5 basic lines. There's a PDF, then there's a video about line and a quiz. Lesson 3 is about abstract art and abstract expressionism. There's a PowerPoint, an assignment. Both the assignment and quiz are on Google Forms. So once they complete the PowerPoint, they're able to go through and explain why image A is abstract versus image B. And then the final lesson is with contour lines, drawing from direct observation. And that one takes a little bit of time, a couple of class periods. It's easy to do the work outside because you're just recognizing a style, which is very distinct, the style of the contour drawing. They're very loose and somewhat descriptive. However, once they get into the classroom, it takes a couple of class periods for them to be comfortable using this technique for drawing. So they know what they need to do outside of class. What's going on inside of class are the studio projects. With setting up the classroom as a flipped classroom, what I hope to achieve is that we'll have more time to really focus on the studio projects. Instead of trying to squeeze in both the direct instruction and the studio project in one class period, we could have the full 90 minutes to really experiment with the concepts, whether it's abstraction or the 5 basic lines or the technique. And when we have critiques, we'll be able to spend more time instead of worrying about the basic instruction with it. So they'll know what studio project's happening when, if they reference the course outline and then go to the studio projects. The first one, they have 7 small compositions that represent each element of art. It's a fun lesson. I have 7 stations set up around the classroom. The second project is about the 5 basic lines, and they take a verb, like running, an action verb, running, jumping, shouting, dancing, and they create a composition. And I tell them they can't have anything identifiable in there, so it's just a whole bunch of lines, and they're supposed to convince us that that is running or shouting. Studio Project 3 is about emotion. This time we're still doing the 5 basic lines, but we're really thinking about abstraction, color, how that affects emotions, and they pick one, and once again they try to create abstract with no symbols whatsoever, and everybody always wants to put like a little heart for loving or a sad face for sad, but we can't have anything identifiable. And then for Studio Project 4, they're doing their contour drawings, which focuses on lines, and they'll have a series of 3. They do a contour of a hand, a portrait of somebody or themselves, and a still life object. For the unit project, which is building up outside of class, they're going to be taking photographs. So this way they work with a lot of different media. Art's not just a pencil drawing or a pastel drawing or painting. There's a lot out there to create art, a lot of different media. So we're prepping for this as we're working on all the studio projects. They also have an e-portfolio requirement. All finished artwork must be posted to your blog by start of next class period after due date. So to get to the art blog, this is where we start discussing the unit projects, and I already made one post for them. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be discussing art of photography. Before I get started with the technical side of photography, I want to hear from you. Why do you take photographs? So we'll talk about why we take photographs. The photographs that will be focusing on lines, whether it's a realistic photograph or an abstract, they'll be required to post a comment here. They also will need to make their e-portfolios. And I created one here, the Art of Miss MC, and you can see a couple of my photographs. Of course, they have line in it. It's from when I went to Seattle, and the idea of this is that we'll be able to do the self-critiques and peer critiques. Each student will have their own blog site and will show their portfolio of work from the start of the year to the end of the year. All right. So that's a little bit about the site and how it will support both blended learning and a flipped classroom. And through this site, I've created asynchronous learning, which the presentations, quizzes, reflection, discussion blogs, content videos, demo videos, and then in class will be the synchronous learning, the studio projects, the collaborative projects, gallery walks, group critiques. So grading and assessing, that's, one of the major focuses when we have to decide what kind of grades to give our students. And how I have it set up on here, I will be using GradeSpeed, which is a district program. However, I'll be using Google Forms for quite a bit, the daily assignments and the quizzes, so I'll be able to tally grades from there. The discussion posts are Weebly, peer critiques from the Blogspot, self-critiques, Google Forms, and studio projects, art rubrics. So there's not one place that I can do all of the grading. There's different types of grades that happen, and they'll all be inputted though in the GradeSpeed by the district. All right, so that is my instructional design project. Thank you for viewing, and I've really enjoyed this class and learned quite a bit.